Would gay sex have fixed Eli ever? Probably.
Probably.
Quack.
Welcome to the Little Duck Book Club with duck number 1,
Ren, and duck number 2,
Anna. And today we have a scrumptious review for you. A book we both love.
Vicious by V.E.Schwab.
I was waiting on you to like... Whoosh.
Yeah, for a second I was just like, what are you waiting for? Are you going to say it? Are you leaving a pause? Am I supposed to be saying this? I love that we don't plan our bits out. It's just all organic nonsense.
Because we're just that charming. Yeah, Vicious, interesting book. But if you have not read it, this is one of the videos where we will send you away. Do not...
Once again, yeah.
It's full of spoilers.
We're talking about a quality book this time. If you have not read it, please vacate the premises. Please enjoy the book as it is with all the twists and turns and whatever. Yeah. A lot of it, I feel like, a lot of it is spoiled by the blurb anyway, but the vibes are impeccable. Like, I feel like the blurb, at least on my book, goes pretty far into the plot. On what is happening. So I was like, damn. But just know it's really good. It is a commentary a bit on like superheroes, but also remember or be aware that this was written in 2013 and published in 2014. So it is not a commentary on like contemporary superhero media, but from the time it was written, like it talks about like being superhuman, and like it has some of the vibes of, you know, who's the villain, who's the hero, suspense, all that. That kind of vibe. And like a lot of superhero media, I'm not gonna get into it. We can get into that part in the review. It's a personal pet peeve, but we'll get into it. But yeah, as always, this is like full of spoilers. We're not giving you an insightful like plot summary or anything. We're just talking about it. We're not
gonna like make it so that you would understand properly if you haven't read it. So read the book and then come back to this video, bookmark it, you know, and then enjoy the rest of our unhinged discussion.
Yes.
So I before we get into the discussion, at least for me, I have to get like an arcane shaped elephant out of the room regarding this book. So, if you are here looking at this video and you have not been deterred by us saying leave if you haven't read this book, and you are here because it has been recommended to you by the Arcane fandom, I'm not gonna say they're wrong, but you're not gonna enjoy it the way I think you want to enjoy the book. So there's like, I could go on like a ridiculous long list of if I had $1 every single time, and then like list plot points that happen to the characters in this book, and then go, it's strange it happened twice. But it's not a Javik fanfiction. Just like putting this out there. This was written again like 10 years ago at this point.
Over 10 years ago.
Damn.
It was published in 2014, so over 11 years ago, yeah.
You're gonna enjoy this if you're a fan of Victor, the character. The Arcane Victor, not the Vicious Victor, since you don't know the Vicious Victor yet. You're gonna enjoy that. But if you go into this because somebody on TikTok told you, oh, you're gonna love this.
It's just like that. It's not like that.
It's not like that. Like, there's a lot of similarities with the characters, and I bookmarked one little bit that I thought was hilarious because it was like modern setting, alternative universe Jinx. It's like just a side character that made, what was it, like a new blue pigment for fireworks that's in their class. And I was like, okay, yeah, this is kind of fun. But the similarities stop there. I feel like it's they're not really friends in this book. So the majority of the...
I just feel like, especially if you go into it like, wow, it's just like Arcane. This can only come from people who are like wow, I've only seen Arcane and I'm consuming another piece of media and I'm like, wow, this has a lot of Arcane vibes. And it's like, no, these are common tropes. Please read and watch other things.
It's yeah, I wrote down that ultimately it has, I feel like, more the Professor X Magneto vibes than it has Jace Victor vibes. It's just because one of them is named Victor and the other one is called the Golden Boy at some point. That's it. So I just want to get that out of the way before I
love that you just assume that there's so many people who would like that this is a relevant disclaimer to make, but
it's just big like, on my mind. Listen, while I was reading the book, I was looking out for it because I was genuinely, because I've seen plenty of videos like these. If you like X, you will like Z or Y book.
Yeah,
and I've seen a lot of them connected to Arcane recommend this book.
See, but that's also where I would say, yeah, because Arcane, especially in season 1, has a lot of nuanced characters and no one is the good guy and kind of everyone is, in some respects, the bad guy. And that's also the vibes that Vicious comes with, but it's not, like, the ship aspect is not there.
Yeah, but it was recommended mostly with the ship aspect. One video was like, if you liked Victor as a character, you're gonna enjoy Vicious, which I do agree with. I think if you enjoyed that character arc, but anyways, that's just, you know, a little something I wanted to get out because it was on my mind a lot when I read the book. We can continue with.
I love this like Javik shiver. Looking at anything else, wow, this reminds me a lot of Javik. It's like, that's just the energy that brings to me.
The thing is, I know my own tropes, and I'm like, oh, scientists, and then that's it.
Yeah, no, of course.
That's like the ultimate. That's my trope. Whenever I read anything with scientists, I'm like, oh, the scientists, yeah. And it happened in Vicious too. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, they're not quite scientists.
No, and they definitely should have taken an ethics class at some point. I don't think it would have helped, but maybe it would have been a little bit more.
Yeah, I was about to say this would not have helped because they would not have listened, but okay.
They have the strongest, like engineers or like mint subject that's not life science student who was like forced to go to an ethic class vibe ever. Like these two characters, it's like the most obnoxious students you don't want to have in your class as a classmate.
See, but I also think that's not actually true because they're both #lying manipulators, so they don't actually look like that from the outside. If you meet them, you don't get the impression that they would like not respect like ethical concerns. They're like, oh no, I care so much about ethics. You're so right. Human experimentation is wrong. No one should do it. And at the same time, they have like somebody chained up in their basement and doing unethical experiments on them. Like that's the energy, right? Like that's what they're like.
Yeah. You are correct in that. Like, I mean, if you know the characters, like their thoughts as well, then. But yeah, if you were to meet them,
yeah, no, if you meet them, you're just like, oh, what a charming young man. And then one of them shoves you down the stairs. Normal.
You know the movie Death Becomes Her. It's like, it's very old. It's like
with the two women like trying to kill each other, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Like I feel like if they were alive forever, at some point that would be Victor and Eli. You know, it's like they're the
at that point it's just slapstick, yeah.
Yeah. They're like, okay. Do you want to push me down the stairs this time? Nah, I did it the last 5 times. It's fine. That's how I feel like they would end up. Well, anyways, where do you wanna get into your notes? You have anything you want to start on?
I mean, we can do like characters, we can do plot points. I don't know what you prefer.
I have a very small section of like general things, and then I have characters.
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, let's just get the general stuff out of the way then, and then, yeah.
I really appreciate of this book is how like quote unquote simple the plot is in itself. Like it's very clear, it's very forward. They fuck around and find out. Then you have the prison time skip, the trying to find Eli, and the cat and mouse thing. It doesn't last weeks, right? It's very succinct, and then finale.
Without the non-linear storytelling, this would be very straightforward and kind of, boring. Yeah. But because you have so many flashbacks in between that give you context for things that are happening in the present, it seems a lot more complicated than it actually is.
Yeah, and
it feels like more happens than actually happens.
It does. But
which, I mean, it means that, the author was very competent and decided, yeah, obviously, like, if I just told it straightforwardly, it would be boring. So we're doing, the complex version.
It also makes it much easier to still follow the plot. If the overall plot was super complicated, and then you would do the back and forth in terms of...
for that it has to be simple.
Yeah.
You can't do a complex plot with time jumps as well. At least not if you want to sell it to more than a niche audience of weirdos who are specifically into that.
Yes, that's so, of course. But yeah, I like that, and overall, I liked the writing style. This is my only V.E.Schwab book I've read. I know that I think you said that it was like hit or miss with this author.
Yeah, I have read a lot of V.E.Schwab, and I mean, not surprising coming from me, who put Vicious into their top 10 books, favorite books. But this is by far the best V.E.Schwab book. I mean, I haven't read Invisible Life of Eddie LaRue or whatever, but V.E.Schwab, they're very competent at, like, standalones and first books, but the sequel game is so weak, so bad. Like, honestly, like, you've started with what I would call the most, like, the best V.E.Schwab book. There was a lot of others, and they have a lot of good ideas, but ultimately, like, I feel like, especially in the sequels, they often, like, get distracted from what the main drive of the story was, because they get, like, seduced by other characters who they also think are really fun to explore and interesting. There is a Vicious sequel, Vengeful, which, again, I have heard only middling to bad things about, so I pretend it doesn't exist, because I don't, like... Vicious was so obviously written as a standalone, and then Vengeful came out, like, half a decade or more later. Like, yeah. I feel like it's... Why would you write a sequel to such a strong standalone? Like, you come out of Vicious, and you're not left with any questions. You're like, oh yeah, that's the story. We're done. Like, the themes are portrayed. The story is over. All the arcs have happened. It's a beautiful circular ending. Like, what else would you be doing? And then there's a sequel. It's insane.
I've seen, because I was browsing on Tumblr. I wanted to see what the people think. There's actually going to be a third book. Victorious.
They made it into, like, a series, and I'm just like, it can only be bad. I cannot imagine this is getting any better at any point. Like, sounds bad. I'm not reading it.
I saw a post of, like, V.E.Schwab posting. I don't know whether that was on, like, Threads or, like, a blog or something, but that they're doing, watching Hannibal again, the last Hannibal season, for some Victorious research, and in my head, I was, like, thinking of the Nickelodeon show, Victorious. So I was like, why are they watching
the tonal dissonance there is truly staggering.
It's like, what? Why? And then I saw people go, oh. And I was like, oh, it's a third book. Because I only knew about Vengeful as the sequel. I haven't read them. I am a bit curious. I was trying to see if my library has them. The Vengeful one at last. Because, my standards aren't as high as yours. Maybe.
I mean, you're a big fan of sequels and continuations in the same universe. I know.
Maybe I'm going to enjoy it. Which is also why I'm a superhero bitch. So I'm excited to hear, like, your complaint of, like, or pet peeve about the superhero genre. So I'm excited to hear that.
But yeah, no, I mean it's a really strong standalone book where I'm just like, why would you do any more? Like the book itself is so well done. Like every arc is concluded. The place where it ends up is satisfying.
Yeah.
I feel like why would you like I could totally understand writing more in like the universe, quote unquote. I mean, it's not particularly like crazy. Like it's just, oh yeah. Trauma can give you superpowers. Great. Like, cool. But, like, why would you go... It feels the same way as, like, the continuation of the MCU, where you're just like, stop beating the dead horse. It's already pulp. There's nothing left of the... Stop beating this horse. Oh, my God. Stop it.
Well,
the poor horse.
The problem with the MCU is that they have a treasure trove of amount of comic storylines they can turn into movies. It's not like they're...
Yeah, and in so doing, they have recreated the comics experience of being entirely confused on what the fuck you're supposed to be doing if you get into it, which is incredibly funny.
Yeah, but, you know, they do have the material to go still.
Yeah, I mean, it's also just that a lot of the material is really bad.
I mean, yeah. But it's a lot.
There is a lot. That's true. I would not expect them to pick the good parts, quite frankly.
Well, because a lot of the good parts have already been picked, to be honest. But
yeah.
I mean,
no, but this is not about the MCU. It's just like I pretend that the vicious sequels don't exist because I think they're stupid. So that's my personal stance on that. Because I like Vicious so much, I'm just like, you can just make it worse.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the more, like, you can only just keep treading the same water. Like, I think the sequel is also about, like, Eli in, like, confinement, and then Victor is brought back, and we get more of their interaction. I'm like, but they were done. Like, they've both said their piece. Like, they're done with each other. The point of the ending is that Victor is now free to do other things, and is not obsessed with this problem anymore. And that Eli is just frozen in the past and can never move on because he can never change, literally and metaphorically. Like, it's such an obvious thematic endpoint that I'm just like, V.E.Schwab, what are you doing? Did you forget what you wrote? Like, what are you doing? You did this on purpose, I presume.
Well, maybe it was a lucky thing, you know?
Maybe.
It was a lucky draw.
But yeah, no.
Do we want to start with our two boys?
Let's just get into the characters.
Yeah.
We've been going for a while and have not said very much about the book itself, just about things around it, which is great.
Funnily enough, my first bullet point for Victor is no notes.
I mean, my first bullet point is I love him so much, so, heart emoji. So,
And then the second one is blonde skinny legend, so I don't know how serious this discussion is gonna be.
That's really funny. My second point is his parents write self-help books and Victor's a real go-getter and helps himself. This is a very serious analysis, by the way.
I love Victor. He's the right amount of obnoxious, but not too obnoxious and snarky
he's
to read.
So good.
You are rooting for this person, even though you're like, Jesus fucking Christ. But it's still like,
yeah, you're like, there's so much wrong with you. Continue, please. I'd like to see where this is going. He's so good. I love him.
Yeah. No, he's amazing. I love that. One thing I appreciate about Victor, in contrast to Eli, is that he is not feral in a way, but he obviously matures from his Lachlan days to the present day Victor in a very understandable progression. It doesn't change his character, but it's very noticeable of back then he was something. And now
he used to be very impulsive and hair trigger about a lot of things. Yeah. And now he's just no, I'm gonna wait for the right moment and then I'm gonna be crazy and then it's gonna be more effective. He has mastered the application of his craziness. And it's also like
Yeah.
he's also, the fun part about him is that he's very aware that there's something like unusual about him, that he's not like other girls, and he's aware of this.
He is the other girl,
He has learned how to cope with it, unlike other characters who are really, really not good with that.
Coping with things.
Yeah, no, but it's a very funny bit that, I mean, also in comparison to Eli becomes very obvious, but Victor is very distant from his parents, and he hates them, which is totally understandable. They're neglectful pieces of shit who, like, are not present, right?
Yeah.
And who are just like, oh yeah, our son's in prison? Well, he can benefit from some self-help books, certainly. Normal reaction.
Escape the prison of your own mind or something was the book title.
Yeah, incredible. But as much as he dislikes them, he has unquestionably actually benefited a lot from having parents who are both doctors and, from the self-help angle, I assume psychologists or something adjacent, because he's not only extremely good at analyzing his problems and like his emotional reactions, he's also very good at coping with them and at understanding other people and himself and like working from that. Like his internal awareness is so high, which makes him way better at coping with all of this than every other character. And I don't think he would like to be aware of this at all, but it's very, very obvious, especially because we don't know a lot about Eli, but what we know is that he comes from an incredibly abusive home with like a physically abusive father, bad enough to scar heavily.
With like religious trauma thrown in,
and he's like, he talks about like, oh, I've always had like a piece missing and now it's just been exacerbated by the second like big trauma. And I'm just like, yeah, because you've always been traumatized and you never worked through it. Like, there wasn't like, you weren't bad or wrong before. You clearly had like emotional regulation issues which came from severe childhood trauma. But you have never even looked at that or worked through that. So you're just like, oh, this must be a sign of the devil. And it's like, no, Eli, it's not. Stop it.
It's like witchcraft.
Yeah, he's just like, yeah, there was something wrong about me. I'm like, yeah, you were traumatized, you fucking bitch. Oh my god.
I have to say, if we want to like switch to Eli, because it's difficult to like kind of discuss them like separately.
Yeah, they're obviously made to be like two aspects of the same thing. Like they're obviously so connected that every attribute is mirrored in a way in the other character.
Yeah. I know that, or like I remember the first time I read it and I was like, gosh, I love Eli. You were like, I want to kill you so bad. But I stand on my point that honestly, I really like him as a character. I do like the religious fanatics in books or stories, because it's always so interesting to, as you just mentioned, to like see where the root of that weird, like that trauma comes from.
Yeah, no, he's a great religiously fanatical serial killer. He's great. He's like an amazing example of all the standard traits associated with it. It's like, wow, yeah, you're hitting all the beats, Eli. Congrats.
He's like my proper boy. I do every single time Eli was on screen, quote unquote. I was like, oh. Yeah. There he is.
Ah, there he is, my boy. Let's see what atrocities he commits next.
My little master manipulator.
Eli is a great villain because he's incredibly hateable. He sucks so bad. You want to punt him down a long flight of stairs like every single time.
Yeah.
And the great thing is you could do this infinity times because he regenerates every time. It's like, you know, incredible stress toy. But
Victor thinking of, you know, it's like, he's like, yeah.
I mean, this is like Sydney at the end where she's like, oh, I hope Eli's not in solitary confinement, and they find out he heals and they keep making a game to stab him and like hurt him as much as possible. And I'm just like, wow.
Yeah.
your new dad really left an impact on you, Sydney, man.
It didn't take long, you know? That makes
Not
you realize
at all.
that Mitch was...
But also, I mean, he did try to kill her, so I'm like, I mean, that's extremely valid.
That's true. No, but I really liked Eli in the sort of... I wondered, because, I mean... this is not being said in the book, but that's something I always wonder with the religious aspects in villains, is like, do they realize, or is there like the aspect of them being like, I'm telling myself this is God and the devil and whatever. I think he mentions it in the beginning though, because the alternative is that something inherently is like wrong with me.
So I know, but he does believe it. Like,
yeah.
At first, after like after his
resurrection,
metaphorical baptism and change into a new man, anointed as like a new Eli with a new name and all of that. Yeah, he's like, oh no, what if I'm missing something? And then he goes to Self-Harm Central and tries to kill himself like hundreds of times, and how's it phrased? Like, until all the like doubt was bled out of him.
Yeah,
and then he got up and like probably cleaned his apartment, which was full of blood at that point, because he kept trying to slit his wrists and like his femoral arteries and stuff. So like, okay, normal man behavior.
Eli could be the best blood donor, you know. He's just like...
Yeah, but he won't do it because he refuses to be useful. He's like, he's crazy. That's the problem. He doesn't think about being helpful. He's just like, no. I want to kill people because it's fun for me. It makes me feel good. So I'm going to keep killing people.
I forgot from the first time. So this was my second time reading the book. Yeah. I forgot from my first time reading that he has his little, I don't know, 7 minutes in heaven every single time he kills someone. Right, where he stands like, and he's like, this is between me and God, and I was just, I got the ick so hard. I was like, Eli, I love you, but
he's really got the ritualistic weirdo part of the serial killer bingo down good. Like he's really good at this. Like incredible, good, especially like at the one part where he's like, oh, there was something satisfying about using his hands for that. I'm like, you fucking freak, just go to a BDSM club. Oh my god, and be normal. You know, you can be a sadist without killing people. It's fine, Eli. Oh my god.
I don't remember this from the book. So this might be something that is being dropped in the sequel, but I saw a Tumblr post of somebody saying that like Eli's original dream was to get out of the home situation in university by marrying rich, like marrying a girl rich, right? And then just fucking off away. And that the books, like the story could have been so much shorter if he had realized, actually, Victor is the perfect rich person that, like, you know, rich parents.
Yeah, but it's 2014. Gay marriage isn't legal yet.
The parents would love him, right? They'd be like, oh, Eli, you're so fucking great.
They're like, oh, finally a normal guy for a fucking freak son, Victor.
He could have just gone out. Like, the books would be so much shorter. Same with his weird God thing, you know, could have just gone to places where that is acceptable with consent, and then
it really is just like, man,
would have been fine.
But the thing about him is that he has zero like critical analysis of his interior state, like none at all ever. Like he comes back and he's like, yeah, I remember when I came back, I thought there was something wrong with me, and it was a simple equation. EOs are wrong, I am one, I should be wrong. But that wasn't right. That was simply not correct. I was different. And I was like, Eli, you're like the other girls, in fact. There is something wrong with you. And it's that you've been traumatized and need a fucking therapist.
I mean...
It's like, so funny. He's always like, no, I'm not like them. And it's like, Eli, you're worse. Like, you understand that, like, you're way worse than the rest of all these people.
I feel like we should, like, obviously get off the way that neither Victor or Eli are sound of mind, because they are like, you know, the possibility of suicide? Hell yeah. Like, that's just...
No, it is very funny that, like, they're both driven by this, like, consuming insecurity, because for Eli we get, like, what if no one remembers me? And it's like, okay, like, I mean, I'm not gonna pretend I'm the most well-adjusted person, but to this statement, I'm just like, well, who gives a shit? Like, so what? Most people are not remembered that far past their death. It's normal. Like, get used to it. Like, go to therapy, man. It's not that it's not that deep. And Victor is just like, oh no, he couldn't be just like a footnote. He couldn't just be an assistant to like Eli's success. He had to be like great and like probably to be like, wow, I'm better than my parents, because like obviously he's got some baggage there. But like they're like crazy insecure and like incredible work. Like they're so stupid, Your Honor. Like they're like drunk and they're like, hey, you know what? We should try to kill ourselves to get magic powers. And normal thing to say as a student, by the way. Normal thing. These are top of their class guys, by the way. Normal things to say. Very smart, very intelligent men.
And I love the fact that the first time they try it as well, they're like super drunk, right? And in like the introspection of Victor's dialogue, it's this, oh yeah, you know, this is like, we can pass this off as a suicide attempt if it doesn't work. And like I was drunk, it was a drunk thought and everything, but yes, you were fucking drunk and you decided it'd be a good idea to kill yourself. Like, so stupid, so fucking stupid, but very enjoyable to read.
No, it's incredible. You're just like, there's something wrong with you, but I'd like to see where this is going.
Yeah.
It's so fun. It's just
I really enjoyed the Lockland Day perspective just because of the more unhingedness of the characters. I also really like the present day thing. But the origin story and the...
It's very funny to describe them as more unhinged before they try to kill himself. May I remind you that Eli becomes a serial killer?
Yeah, like, no.
What?
That's malicious, baby. before they're turned vicious, you know?
Okay.
That was too much. I apologize. I did write down, but I have a problem with their whole relationship. I mean, it's supposed to not feel great, right? But for Eli, I did write down that it feels icky that since he's, like, of his mind, he's an older guy, and then he kind of starts this weird relationship with Serena, who's, like, in her early 20s. But then again, he looks like a freshman, and he is not sound of mind.
I love that you're like, oh yeah, this feels weird. Where I'm just like, yeah, it feels weird because Serena's a fucking rapist. Like, that's the weird part about it. Like, I don't think a 21-year-old dating a 30-year-old is a problem, especially not if the 21-year-old can like roofie anyone at any time and is just like incredibly into that idea and is like, yeah, I love doing that. I love controlling people. It's my favorite thing. And I don't even think about what it does to them. Like, no, it's all about me.
It's just the whole relationship.
No, their relationship is fucked on many levels, but there I'm like, man, he just wants to kill her, which I respect. He's crazy in that very specific flavor. But she's a weirdo rapist, which I think is much worse on the, like, balancing scale of a relationship. I'm like, no, she's the bad guy here. Like, sorry, but, like, unfortunately...
In the morality terms, you are
I was
correct.
Like, I so desperately wanted to like her on, like, I think this is my third or fourth read through, but I was like, no, she's too off-putting. I'm sorry, the feminism leaving my body when I see Serena Clark. I'm like, nah, not the rapist, man.
Want to continue with Serena then?
I mean, we can. I have a bunch more for both Victor and Eli, but I think all of this is gonna keep, like, bleeding into each other in, like, different flavors anyway, so I think we can also keep going with her.
Yeah. I remember, and I, like, interrupt me if I'm wrong, but I remember us talking, like, way back about Serena at some point, and you said that she was able to not use her powers. But in the book, I'm not finding the section. It says she's not able to stop, and that even if she makes slight suggestions...
Yeah, because she's lying to herself. Because there are also several sections in which she's talking to people and telling them to do something and they hesitate and don't really do it, and then she clamps down because she doesn't actually like when they don't do what she says. There's a scene with Sydney where this happens. There's several scenes with Eli where this happens. There are scenes with, like, the detectives where this happens. She just lies to herself. Like, she's just like, oh no, I couldn't control it. And then she's like, no, I actually, like, every time this happens, she's internally like, no, I, like, intensified my control and stuff. And it's like, no, she could work on this, but she's choosing not to. Because
that's what you mean.
She's too wrapped up in the whole, like, oh, I'm so sad and my life is so hard because I get everything I want. Oh, it's so hard to be me. Don't think about all the people I killed by telling them to kill themselves or whatever. Don't worry about it. It's all about me and how sad it is for me.
Yeah, like, okay, so that's... Because I was like, okay, wait, but, like, like,
I was she does say that, but, like, she is unreliable, because at several points it's like, wait, no, but people are not doing what she's telling them to. And then she, like, uses her, like, in more intense version of it, and then it's like, okay, so she does know there are differences, and she could not do this, but she's choosing to do this because it's easier.
Yeah. She has these parts where she's, like, getting very excited about the fact that Eli tries to worm himself out of her control. Which is interesting if that's something she gets excited by, because she also gets frustrated if it doesn't work as well.
Yeah, she doesn't know what she wants. Like, there are points where she's like, oh, it was so hard that now everyone did what she said. Like, the world went limp around her, but she loved fighting people. And it's like, no, actually, you liked winning. You don't actually enjoy fighting. You like winning, and you want winning to feel like an achievement. So people have to give a little bit of, pressure in the other direction. But, like, she gets so pissed the moment she isn't winning, or it looks like she might not be winning. And it's like, okay, no, you don't actually want, like, a fair fight. And it's also, like, there are so many ways in which you could still live your life in a way that's more difficult than it is right now, but you don't want to. Like, you're choosing not to.
She's like a walking cheat code. I mean, both of the sisters are, like, walking cheat codes, right? Both Sydney and Serena. But, I mean... she is...
Serena is deeply off-putting. Like, on one hand, because she has no introspection at all, and I'm also not, like, I don't know, it just doesn't really hit for me for, like, a extreme, like, very wealthy white girl to be like, oh, my life is so hard, and I used to be so good at fighting and winning and dominating people, and I'm like, oh, cool, let's hear about, sounds like a great person, love that, real girl boss, sounds amazing, I wonder who you won against and what kind of shit you did. Sounds fun.
I agree. I don't know whether it's because, like, with all the EOs, like, they lose something, but the fact that how easily Serena was like, oh, so you're hunting us and just killing us because you think we're bad? Okay. That was... I was like, what is wrong with you, lady?
I mean, right before that, we have, like, oh, yeah, her boyfriend did everything she wanted, even jump off a bridge when she told him to. And it's like... And she didn't give a shit. And I'm like, okay... There clearly was something wrong with you before this as well. Like, I don't believe you were normal before this. I think you also had some severe issues that you've never worked through because you have the internal awareness of a walnut. Like, nothing. Like, no, like, Eli does, like, a little bit of self-reflection and it always ends with, no, I'm normal. I'm normal and right.
It's like a very panicked, no, I'm normal,
Yeah, but she's not even asking the question. She's just like, oh, my life is so hard. I'm so sad. I could kill myself. I'm so depressed, but I'm not actually gonna do this, and I'm gonna take this out on everyone else around me.
I'm just gonna kill somebody else.
Yeah. But, like, she has zero commitments to anything. I think that's also the thing where it's like, she's so willing to just go along with Eli's ideas of what EOs are. But then, and she's like, oh yeah, sure, you can kill my sister. Sure, yeah, let's invite her to get you to execute her in a field.
Yeah.
And then at the last moment being like, oh, maybe I feel bad about this actually. And then afterwards being like, no, actually we should kill her. And then flip-flopping back and forth. And I know it's supposed to be probably like a positive aspect that she's, you know, flip-flopping back to, oh, maybe I shouldn't kill a kid. Even, like, regardless of whether she's your sister, it's like, what the fuck is wrong with you, man? Like, just because you hate yourself doesn't mean you have to go around killing other people.
Yeah,
Oh my god.
yeah. She's, I don't know. The first time I read the book, I really, really didn't get her character at all. I was like, she's... And the second time reading it, I get why she's in the story, and, like, what they were trying to do, but I still don't like her.
No, the first time I read it, I just straight up, I was like, what even is her goal? I hate her, she's stupid. The second time I was like, okay, I still hate her. And this time I was like, you know, I'm a big supporter of women's wrongs. I love women's wrongs.
You do love women's wrongs.
I was like, am I a misogynist? Do I just not like her being problematic because she's a woman? And then I was like,
oh, yeah, could be.
And then in my brain I was like, no, imagine we had a Victoria veil, and then I got too horny and blanked out because I was like, no, I want this too much. She's just not doing the correct women's wrongs. I'm like, I would love if we had, like...
Your eyes are glistening.
Yeah, I was like starry-eyed at the idea of like a female Victor Vale, or even like a female Eli. I'm like, that would be so good, because these are roles women don't really get.
Yeah,
like,
usually.
Serena is annoying because she's the seductress, she's the femme fatale.
She's being called the siren by Victor.
Yeah, evil women use sex and seduction and, like, manipulation to get their way. And I'm like, no! I mean, Victor is also using manipulation to get his way, but he's also using the power of incredible violence, which I love, and I wish more women got to use. But also, I think the off-putting part for me is that, like, she has no introspection, and also she's a rapist, and she doesn't even think about it at all. Like, it doesn't even register. Like, other people barely register as people at all in her brain. And that's, like, the off-putting part to me. Because, like, at least Eli's really invested in killing some specific people. Because he's like, no, they're evil demons. But he thinks other people are people. And Victor's like, no, everyone's just a person. And I need to understand them to manipulate them successfully. I love manipulation.
Except for Eli. Like, I want to kill that guy.
And, I mean, yeah, because manipulation didn't work. He's like, nah, we tried and we failed. We can't do it. Manipulation doesn't work on him because he's too crazy for this. Although, he never tried dressing up as, like, an angel and playing, like, you know, choir music in the background to convince Eli
I thought
he's a good guy.
I thought we established that there was no gay marriage back in 2013.
That is very true.
It wouldn't have worked.
Would gay sex have fixed Eli ever? Probably.
Probably.
Unfortunately, the answer is probably yes.
All he needed
but he
was...
hasn't even conceived of it, so unfortunately. But yeah, no, I really tried to like Serena this time. I was like, okay, I'm gonna try. But I failed. I hate her so much. And I think another problem for me is that she feels a lot more plot device than all the other characters. Especially also because her powers are way less related to what happened to her than everyone else.
Yeah.
Like, everyone else has a pretty clear through line to both the way they died and what they were thinking at the time. But for Serena, it makes zero sense at all. Like, and I understand, like, she needs to have this power for the story to work, and she needs to be dying at the same time as Sydney, because them both having a near-death experience, but at different times and different circumstances, is ridiculous. And, like, I understand, but these things don't mesh, because I feel like her power is just, like, no, it's a commentary on, like, sirens and, like, the femme fatale. Like, I understand this, but it doesn't work at all to, like, yeah, you froze to death after saving your sister from drowning. This does not at all compute to controlling people without effort at all. That's just fucking weird, man.
It was like, what was the intrinsic thought and need you had in the moment of death that would lead to this power?
Right? In her mind, she was just like, oh, not like this. But I'm like, that just feels like you should be able to control, like, water if you're trying to save your sister from drowning. Because she jumped back into, like she swam down to save Sydney.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm like, shouldn't it be related to that? Or, like, why is it attraction and, like, an insane level of mind manipulation? It does not make sense, because everyone else makes total sense. Like, Victor dies in a, like, electrical apparatus in incredible pain, and, like, in his mind he's thinking of the dial, so his power is related to both pain and, like, has the electrical flavor. Eli Ever dies in a ice bath, and, like, his power is basically being frozen in time, because it's not just that he heals, he also doesn't progress in ways that aren't, like, your body breaking down, because not all aging aspects are that. He just always returns to that same state, and, like, literally and metaphorically. Like, the story is about him being frozen in time, and Victor gets to change and go through life and become a full adult and adopt a child and, like,
commit murder.
Kind of gay married to, like, his platonic bestie, and, like, adopts a dog. You know, normal things.
Yeah.
But, like, like, Sydney almost, like, thinks, like, no, I want a second chance. I want, you know, please come back to life. Like, and she's cold and frozen. The guy who dies in a mineshaft explosion is like, no, I don't want to be alone. And he can see, like, ghosts or dead people or something. Like, he starts seeing things. The teleporter guy was, like, exploded by a mine. So, like, he's stuck between being, like, you know, a gas and a person, basically. Like, it's all of these make sense.
There's themes,
but Serena's does not at all. It doesn't, like, I understand she needs to be this for the story V.E.Schwab wanted to tell, but I'm just like, she doesn't make sense. I don't like it's off-putting to me.
Yeah, especially because the power isn't just people do what she says. There's the it's mentioned that there's the distinct need to want to please her.
Yeah, the love and affection that, like, which is just so weird. I'm like, what is this? Why is this? How is this related at all to how she died or what she was thinking? Because I feel like the last thing you're thinking of while you're saving your sister from drowning while freezing to death yourself is, like, about people's opinion of you, like, right? Like, I feel like that's, like,
I hope they love me for this.
Yeah, you on the ice after saving your sister. Oh, I'm the best woman ever. They should kneel before me. I'm so good. Like, right? It just doesn't make sense.
No, it really doesn't.
And it doesn't compel me either.
It's also just her flippant nature of just the way that she just grabs Stell and the other policeman and just drags them to the flat, to the student living, and, like, completely sort of, I mean, he didn't really have a plan. Eli was just pick person, kill person, pick person, kill person. He was vibing, he was doing his thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, he had forever, so, like, who cares?
Yeah.
Like, he was having fun killing people. He was like, oh, it feels so good. It's so
rewarding.
And
then she comes in and she just like, here, my new toy. Look at this. Without any regards to what... It sounds stupid because we're talking about a serial murder, but without any regards of his needs and wishes. Like...
No, she was not interested what he would think or want. She didn't ask if he'd like that. She was just like, no, the world is my oyster and I can do whatever I want. Yeah. And, like... Quite frankly, like, it's good that she's dead. Like, Victor did the right thing because, like, Eli's not the first guy, I imagine, who, if of sound mind, like, not, like, generally, but, like, when he's not under her control, would never have agreed to sleep with her. And I bet there were, like, a range of other people who would never have agreed to sleep with her or do anything else. and I don't even want to imagine what they feel like afterwards. Like, right? Like,
you mean like the memories come back and they're like, wait.
Yeah, and like, I mean, she's doing so much damage to so many people with no concern at all. Like, I think that's way worse than than even what Eli's doing. Because again, Eli's like doing very specific damage on purpose. And she's just like, no, who cares who dies or who lives? Like, as long as I get what I want. Which I'm not even sure of what I want because I'm so sad and depressed. And, like, there is this part where she describes it as, like, self-harm, where she's like, yeah, actually, I should try to make life harder for me, but it's just so easy to step back into control and make people do what I want. And, like, it's so addictive, but it's bad for me. And I'm just like, okay, I don't empathize with this. Like, sorry. Because at no point in this consideration was she ever like, what does it do to people when I use them like this? Am I not, like, violating people's minds and thoughts and emotions all the time? Like, that never comes up. She's just like, ugh, I feel so bad and so sad. But she's not sad or depressed about the right things. She's not suicidal with the right things. I'm just like, it's so bad.
It's just, I don't know. She's just a very icky character. And I mean, I guess that was the point.
Yeah, no, but I also feel like there are some parts that are supposed to make her more, like,
sympathetic.
You know, you're supposed to understand her and empathize with her, but I'm just like, you're a whiny little bitch. Shut up. It's the same way where, like, to a certain degree I understand that, like, being an incel sucks or whatever, like, if you feel, like, repulsive and you feel like no one could ever love you or whatever, but then I'm like, okay, but, like, it's not their fault that you treat people like shit and are extremely rude to women and are, like, one rejection away to becoming a serial killer or, like, a mass murderer. Like, that's not on women. Like, it sucks to be you, but also you're taking the wrong lesson from this, like, entirely.
Yeah.
Sorry. Like, at some point it's like, maybe you should think about making friends and seeing women as people and not just as, like, sex dispensers, and then it would be easier to, you know, build relationships.
Yeah.
But, and in the same way, I'm just like, yeah, being depressed sucks, Serena, but you know you could manipulate your way into therapy if you chose to. Or into antidepressants, but you don't choose to. You love, actually, what you're like. You don't want to change, and so you deserve it.
Love actually is all around. I'm sorry. Sorry, every single time I hear somebody say that, it's like, But yeah, Serena, not fun. Mostly, like, the first instinct of me of why I don't like her is because of all the shit she pulls with Sydney.
Yeah, that part is also so off-putting because it's not... she's also, like, a shitty older sister. Like, it's like, oh, she likes her, but she's also controlling and weird about Sydney before anything happens and neglectful. Like, so I'm like, I don't think I like her for that part either. Like, Sydney idolizes her, but Sydney's, like, development is looking at her sister and going, actually, you suck and I don't want to be like you. So
the most of the characterization for Serena that we get is through Sydney, because Eli is obviously kind of impacted. Like, we can't trust him
a
little bit. And even then, like, of course it comes across as, like, Serena was the only one who cared about Sydney in that sort of way. But as a younger sister, like, of course you usually idolize your older siblings, like, especially if there's the option to like look exactly like them. If they're popular and, like, of course you kind of want the same thing happening to you, right? So I remember the first time I read the book and Serena just like betrays Sydney in that way, I was so fucking furious. This time I knew it was coming, and I was still fucking angry. I was still like, when I catch you, listen, when
I get you.
Honestly, when I get you, because I think Sydney is such a sweet, interesting character.
Sydney is such a normal girl, and everyone else is so fucking crazy.
It's like, whenever I think, is it Mitch or Victor? One of them is like, oh, this kid is, like, so weird and like traumatized. But I mean, okay, if a lot of stuff happened to her, and I'm like, yes, she is, but she's also 12. Like, you have to expect some back talk and
yeah, and you also have to expect that, like, it's not unusual for 12-year-olds to be amoral and be real fucking weird. Like,
yeah,
a lot of 12-year-olds have not quite understood yet why killing people is so bad and why you shouldn't torture people. They're like, but what if I want to, though? Like,
well, I wouldn't say that that's the general aspect of 12-year-olds,
but teenagers do, like, have, like, they're not that great on right and wrong, and, like, especially extending, like, empathy and understanding to strangers and people who they have no connection for or don't care for. Like, as in, like, a lot of adults, not everyone, obviously, but a lot of adults can be like, yeah, it is bad to kill, like, a random person, or to kill someone you don't like, and even if you would benefit from it, because, like, it's a tragedy when somebody dies, no matter how much they sucked.
Yeah.
But, like, of course, a 12-year-old is like, well, I mean, the adult I imprinted on said it's fine, and this guy would have killed me, so I think it's fine if you kill him. I don't think that's bad. Like, so it's like, I feel like this is very on brand for 12-year-olds. Like,
that's true. That part is true. I liked Sydney's character arc and the way she changes throughout the book. I really love her relationship with both Victor and Mitch.
I love that she gets a really big dog who loves her.
And Doll, the dog. Doll the dog. I was like, I thought the funniest thing would be to, like, the catchphrase for the book is like trigger warning, the dog dies twice. Something like that.
The dog dies twice, but so does the protagonist, so don't worry about it.
It's fine. But yeah, she's just a fun character. She feels, obviously, her skill or her gift, her power is in the same way as necessary for the plot as Serena's. Like, things just literally wouldn't work out if we didn't have her. Like, Eli's power could be marginally different. Victor's power could be very different. The plot will still work. But for Sydney and Serena, like, we need these specific powers in order for everything to work.
And like, obviously her power, like Serena's, at least she thinks, is, like, reflexive. But she works on it, and she tries to, like, understand it and, like, do other things with it, and she realizes that actually she can control it to a certain extent, which also speaks for the fact that Serena probably could work on it, but she chooses not to.
Mm-hmm. Like, Sydney actually grows in her power in a similar way that, again, Victor does, because he gets better at, like, the dialing up and down, like, differentiating between whom he wants to target and stuff. But she feels a lot less like a plot device. Serena
she feels, and I mean, in part it's also because Sydney gets way more point of view chapters,
that's of course,
and more meaningful point of view chapters, and obviously she's also way more sympathetic. Like, oh, she's a cute little girl who almost got murdered by an insane man, and she gets a cute dog that, you know, was killed, like, right before, but, like, and the dog loves her. It's cute.
My heart, like, for Sydney, breaks at so many small sentences and points.
Yeah.
Like, when she offhandedly mentioned that she put makeup on the taxi, like, drive to visit Serena, because she was so excited to see her again and, like, be a big girl, and now she's angry with herself because she has, like, the smeared makeup. And she doesn't want it. Like, that's the kind of shit that you know, that breaks me when I read that. I'm like, oh, my girl.
There's so many fucking incredible characterization moments in the book, and, like, short, super effective. Like, the very first chapter, it's 2 pages, or it's 2.5 pages or something, and almost every sentence is extremely good, and every bit of characterization we get is so strong and creates so much intrigue and tells you so much, and it's like, Oh, what a banger. Like, that first chapter is, like, incredible. It's so well written, and I assume it got a lot of editing to be this good. But it was, like reading it again, I was just like, wow, every bit of this is just so good, and such strong characterization, it's actually crazy.
Do you mean the
on the
graveyard?
cemetery, like
the graveyard scene? Yeah.
Yeah, the very first chapter. It is like legitimately crazy. It's crazy good. It really is just like, damn, like, what a perfect place to start the story and have the reader be like, okay, I know enough to be intrigued, and like, this is interesting. Tell me more.
I was about to say, first chapter needs to be solid, and this wasn't just solid, it was like a plasma
this
beam.
is like a banger. This is like a 5-star first chapter.
Yeah,
it's so fucking, it's so effective. It's like,
Lee Bardugo, look at this, okay? No more.
Lee Bardugo with your fucking... God, the Six of Crows and Crooked King of the first chapter is just like, Lay, don't do it, no! Someone take the first chapter from her, no!
just stop! Look at this, okay? The first
Crow's
chapter's
duology, like... first chapter incidents leaves 500 dead, 765 wounded, you know? Like, it's real bad.
But yeah, no, I love Sid. She's so cute. Also because she's like, I feel like she's written age appropriate.
Yeah.
Like,
and she's not annoying, which is rare for fictional kids. A lot of fictional kids get really, really annoying.
But she still acts like a kid her age, which is refreshing. Yeah. Like, she's not an adult character that got bullied into a child trope just so... you know, it's quirky or whatever. She does things that a child would do, but she's not like stupid. Like when she burns the pages and she realizes that, of course, this is like occupational therapy for her. But you know, those kind of things. Also, the fact that she likes to get hot chocolate. She was like, my girl, my Shayla.
It is so cute, and just like, I also love like. Her and Victor are also just like, it's so cute. She's like, it's just like, wow, like, terrible person to choose as your father figure, but for the circumstances, actually not a terrible choice.
It's like a little duckling, you know?
It's
imprinted on it.
Yeah, it's just so cute. She was like, you know what? I feel threatened. You know what I'm gonna look for? A man who threatens other people. That's a good choice.
That's a solid deal.
Honestly, like, on this reread, I don't think I noticed this on the first time, but like their first interaction, Victor just legit makes a dad joke. Like, she's just like, I'm cold, and he's like, I'm Victor.
Oh yeah, that was...
It's just so cute, and there's also there are several points where in his internal monologue, Victor corrects himself after he's like, oh, he can't lose them, like he cares, and then he's like, no, he needs them for his plans.
Yeah.
It's like, aw. Aw. Yeah, we'll make a dad out of you yet. Don't worry about it.
Well, like, Mitch is the good example. It's
Mitch is like the well-adjusted parent.
It's like the meme with, what is it, Chris Hemsworth and Robert Downey Jr. Yeah. Like, you know, Chris Hemsworth like has his kid like on the foot, and Robert Downey Jr. is like, oh, you precious.
Literally, Mitch is just like, okay, we're gonna get you some clothes, we're gonna take care of you. Victor's like, hey, you want to come to the cemetery and threaten a guy you just revived? And she immediately like, it understands the bit he's doing and joins in on his bit, and like they have this synergy. It's so cute. It's just like she's learning all the worst lessons, man.
And Mitch is standing on the side like...
Mitch is just like, you shouldn't do that, man. She's a fucking kid.
He's like, please don't take the wrong learnings from this experience.
Yeah, it's so incredible. It's also, Sydney is such a good litmus test to compare Victor and Eli on, because like obviously kids are... quite frankly, like, innocent. Like, you can't really blame most things kids do wrong on themselves. Yeah. Like, and like, Eli's just like, nah, we gotta kill the kid, man. but Victor is like, I can't torture, like, I can't hurt this kid. Like, she's alone, she's scared, she's already hurt. I shouldn't, like, I can't do that. That's wrong.
There's no
also,
need.
it's just, and Sydney being like, yeah, I was super uncomfortable when Eli was sitting behind me, like, worst experience ever. And then she was like, you know, with Victor on the back seat, I was actually not bothered. He was like, fine.
It's fine.
He's a normal guy. Yes.
Yeah, well, there's no, like, I mean, Mitch says this to her, right? He's like, there's no good men in this situation. Like, I know you want to believe this. I know you like Victor. I know you think I'm a good guy. There's no good men in this situation. But still, she herself does not need to fear any danger from these two. So she's like, it's fine.
Yeah, and she's like, listen, this is my monster. This monster likes me. He's not gonna kill me.
It's like...
it's just... And it's also like... Just at the end part where Serena tells her to go somewhere safe, and she's just like, well, safety is Victor. And I'm just like, congratulations on the adoption, Victor. it's like, you have a free child now. Good luck.
It's like the, what did I call it? The cat distribution system. You were chosen by the child distribution system.
You literally picked up this child at the side of the road, hurt and wet and alone, and you took it. What are you gonna do? And the child comes free with a dog. Congratulations.
Even better.
A family can be an undead man, an undead girl, an undead dog, and a normal criminal. Congratulations. That's so cute.
I love Mitch. The first time I read the book, I was like, oh yeah, Mitch is kind of nice.
Yeah, I was also like, oh yeah, I like Mitch. But like on the reread, I'm just like, Mitch is the MVP. Man, this man. Dude, this man.
When we get to like the Mitch origin story, the Mitch, like what happened to him, I thought this is one of the most hilarious parts of the book. Because
so good.
Everybody else is an EO, right? There's this external part that changed them and made them what they are. And here we have Mitch, right? Who, just because of his external features, was profiled the fuck out of, like...
And he is also just legitimately unlucky. Like, that's also just, like, somehow his life sucks with no fault of his own at all. It's just... He's, like, he's just unfortunate. Like, literally all the other characters are like, yeah, I come from reasonably wealthy families. I'm kind of, like, privileged. I died and came back to life, and now I have superpowers. And Mitch is just like, well, I was poor, and I was unlucky. Kicked around the foster system, and then I got incarcerated more than once for things that I didn't even do, and then I did some more crime, because I was like, well, if I'm gonna get incarcerated, I might as well, make it count.
And then he still didn't get incarcerated for what he did.
What he actually did. Yeah, it's incredible. And then, like, his cellmates keep dying, and he's just like, man, I'm trying.
That's the funniest bit of it all.
It reminds me of, like, the Lilo and Stitch meme, like, please, God, send me an angel, the nicest angel you have. And Victor and Solitary Confinement is, like, cackling, Yeah.
And Mitch is like, I'll take this one.
And Mitch is like, I mean, I asked for a cellmate who wouldn't die, I guess. And, like, Victor is like, fine enough. Like, he's not a nice guy, but we're in prison. And we're not in, like, not in a, like, light security prison. We're in a prison for people who have done fucked up shit.
It's a bad
for
prison.
For violent offenders. Like... And he was just like, well, I guess, I'll keep this guy. And
I'll take this twink, it's fine.
Yeah, it's like, it's just so funny.
And then he just stays with him after they break out. He's like, well...
Yeah, and he's just like, well, I mean, I don't have other things to do.
I haven't gotten that unlucky with this guy yet. He's not dead yet. Maybe it's like he's like a lucky charm.
Yeah, he's like, well, I mean, sure, let's do this, even though I think it's a bad idea. Let's do it, I guess, man.
Yeah, the second time reading, I appreciated Mitch a lot more. I love that he cares about Sydney. I love about, like, this, like...
I love how well-adjusted a guy he is.
Yeah.
He's so normal. He loves his chalky milk. He's such a guy. He's so, he's so proud of, when he finds out stuff. It's so cute.
With his little printer,
Yeah, he's just also just, a good guy. He's like, you know what? We're in this bar. Eli's here to kill this guy. I'm gonna give him a fair shot at escaping, and I'm gonna distract Eli, because I'm just a good guy like that.
I just really, really liked him this time reading around. I was like, honestly, I like that he's not really Victor's good conscience.
He's
a lot of times when Victor's like, should I do this? He either thinks of Sydney or of Mitch. He's like, can't do that.
It's so cute.
Mitch would be disappointed, and Sydney would also be mad at me. I can't.
Yeah, and also the few times that he thinks that Victor's really fucking up, he is willing to step between Victor and the other. He's like, no, you're not gonna do that. And then Victor's like, fine, I'll do it either another time when you're not looking, or I'm not doing it. Fine.
So I genuinely like Mitch.
I love Mitch. It's just so charming. It's also just It also shows growth in Victor, because he used to be someone who's like, I don't need friends, I don't really want relationships, I don't if anything, I'm just associating with other people who are genius and outstanding, and
because everybody else is too dumb.
But here he's like, actually, this guy's kind of fun, I like him, we're gonna be friends, he seems like a solid dude, I can use that,
And then he gets attached. I also like the character trope of a big guy with a soft heart. I'm like,
I also like the trope of a big guy with a soft heart accompanied by a small guy who's the worst person, who's a guy in his feral chihuahua who's the worst. That's the energy, and I love that for them.
Yeah, you don't know, they both have scary dog privileges, but for different reasons.
Yeah, you look at Mitch and you think he's you should be scared of him, but actually, the real problem is,
Yeah. No, I really appreciated him.
Mitch is so good. I also think that it is very funny that, he's kind of the only normal guy in the cast, but also he's supernaturally cursed to have a shit life. So he's not that normal after all. It's just so cute.
When I read the book for the first time, I expected for Mitch to also for it to be a surprise that Mitch is also an EO who's just extremely unlucky for some reason.
Yeah, honestly that's why the joke is so good. After Eli shot him and they meet up with the veteran, and he's just like, is he bulletproof? And Mitch is just like, yeah, I wore a bulletproof vest, man, like a reasonable person. It's so cute. It's somewhere near the end.
I'm trying to see if I...
Oh yeah, I can find it. Yeah. So he's bulletproof? Asked Dominic. Mitch laughed and then pulled his jacket aside to reveal the vest underneath. Close enough, he said. He's so cute.
I love Mitch.
I love Mitch. Oh, he's so good.
So precious. Precious man. Well, I mean, there's not many other, bigger characters.
There's no one else who's really, a character.
There's Dominic. The first time I read the book, I was like, I didn't even remember his name.
Yeah, no, I didn't really remember it this time either.
Whatever. Oh, this time I remember it. I mean, I wrote it down on my list. This time, second time reading, I was like, I mean, yeah, he's the plot-deviciest plot device EO that they had. In terms of getting characters, the when you plot something, you're like, but how do I get the character to the place I need him to be? And it's like, let's have this guy. But I think mostly it's because he gets introduced so late.
Yeah. Technically, he gets introduced, when Mitch pulls out the files and we,
Yeah.
But but in the story, it is pretty late. And it's also, a plot device to show that, Victor has grown because he's willing to consider Sydney's opinion on that. He should ask, find someone new for help to, surprise Eli with, and, he goes to see,
Yeah.
Because, he kind of picked up Mitch, and Sydney just kind of, without a plan, but this time it's like actively recruiting
someone. Yeah. One thing I wrote down is Stell. I know this story isn't about Inspector Stell.
His life is so weird, man.
But I the first time I read the book and we get to that, like, the interrogation scene with Victor, right? And Estelle is like this LA noir kind of detective, you know, who sits there and tries to have a proper interrogation of Victor. I was like, ooh, what are we gonna... I like that we have the EOs fighting with each other, but we also have the common law, you know, the executive looking for EOs and doing something. But then they don't really end up doing much with that. And then he just pops up later in the story and becomes the Serena puppet. And I still feel like maybe there could have been more done with this. But since the plot itself is so straightforward and simple, I personally don't know where that could have...
it's also like, he's just a cop. Like, what else would you do with him? Like,
I know.
He does the EO thing, and then he gets lied to a lot by Eli, who then continues to kill every, you know, witness that could have, you know, implicated him in anything. So Estelle just, like, and then Eli disappears, so Estelle's just like, well, that was a weird fucking week. This is super suspicious, but I can't do anything. Like, Victor is in prison, and that's all I can do here. And then, like, he keeps doing his job, and then it's like, wow, there's a lot of suspicious serial killing going on in that city. I should, like, probably check that out. So he's there to... And then, you know, you can imagine, like, he meets Eli again, and he's just like, wait a second. Something's wrong here. Yeah. But he can't do anything about it as long as Serena tells him he can't. And then the moment that spell wears off, he probably has the moment where he's like, that fucking bitch lied to me. Oh my god. He probably killed all those people. And he probably comes away with he probably killed Angie Knight too. Because, like, obviously he's insane and, like, a killer and a serial killer who loves killing people. I imagine he's probably in the sequels too, to have, like, some rapport with Eli or whatever. Which I'm also like, why? We don't need this. Like, we literally don't need this. Like, he's not important. He's just a cop. Like, it doesn't matter.
I guess it's... that he can't do much because he's under the Serena, like, control. But I would have thought it to be interesting if we had, like, another party that's, like, outside of the Victor Eli beef investigating. But yeah, it's
I'm just like, but it wouldn't really have added anything. Like, even if he wasn't under Serena's, but I'm just looking in, it's like, yeah, he doesn't know anything. Like, right? Like, that's the thing. He doesn't really know anything.
I just like the vibes, okay?
You're just like, I like a detective. And it's like... I know. I'm just like, well, we get as much, like, out of him as we can. Like, we can imagine that his life is like a tragedy comedy when he keeps meeting Eli, and every conversation they have, Eli's lying to him, and he's just like, I don't really trust this guy, but for some reason I believe he's a hero. So honestly, this just reminds me of the hilarious part that Eli wears, like, a domino mask for, like, the introduction as, like, a hero to the police force. That part's so fucking funny. Like, clown central. Like, he's just... Yeah. It's so fucking funny, man.
Isn't it
that happens.
Isn't it Stell who's like, oh, that's very Clark Kent of you, when Eli wears the glasses?
Yeah.
And then he ends up wearing the mask.
It's so fucking funny.
So nobody will recognize me.
Yeah, it's just like, Eli, you're so fucking stupid.
The last character I wrote down is Angie, and all I wrote is that she deserved better. I mean, she got fridged hard, but
I was like, my plot points are like, she's literally just there to be fridged, which doesn't make her interesting. She's like the manic pixie dream girl for Victor and Eli, and quite frankly, she could have just been a sexy lamp. Like, legitimately, she could have just been an object Victor and Eli are fighting over. She didn't need to be. She would have
needed to be a conscious enough lamp to turn up the dial. But I agree.
But, like, she could have also just been, like, I don't know, like, a special device that Victor used to kill himself reliably and, like, whatever, breaks in the process, right? Like, she's not a character. We don't get her point of view ever. Everything we hear about her is just like, oh, she's so pretty and so smart and so funny and, like, oh, she's... And it's like, okay, so, like, she's literally nothing. Like, sorry, but, like, that's not anything.
But, I mean, it doesn't feel like that was the intention with her character anyway. She's also not someone who really haunts the narrative in that way. Like, sometimes they're like, Eli is like, oh, yeah, and Victor killed Angie, but he doesn't do it because he, like, genuinely misses her.
No, and it also just doesn't come up that much. These men hate each other, like, independent of Angie, really. Like, and Eli even has the moment where he's like, oh, yeah, he'd like to pretend that the loss of Angie is what did this to him, but, like, he's like, nah, I was like this before that, and she didn't really, she didn't do much about it, like... Where it's like, yeah, you've been traumatized before. Congratulations, King, for realizing this.
Like, her loss isn't the reason why something was taken from him. Like, something else was taken, and the pain of her loss, it was never there, because he was already... Yeah. Maybe he would have felt a little bit differently about this whole thing before the transformation, but not honestly, in the way he wanted to.
His whole relationship with Angie feels like incredible compat. Like, he's like, oh no, there's a beautiful smart woman who likes me, and like, because he's also never honest with her. Like, Victor is the one who like sees through his facade all the time. Like, every time he tries to lie to Victor can tell what the truth actually is. But like, Angie doesn't. Angie just knows the facade. She doesn't know him as a person at all. So, and it's like, yeah, he just pretends to be someone else while he's with her, and like, she's not really a character.
She's not really there.
No, she really doesn't matter at all. Again, like, she could, for all intents and purposes, be a sexy lamp. Like, it really is just like, she's there to be fridged. And they're not even that sad about it. Like, her fridging isn't even that important to the story either way. Where I'm just like, well, what do we have a woman then other than to fridge her, man?
I don't remember what it was. I think I marked it. But that was such an insane thought that Victor has. Right after she dies. Like, something about... that should he remove her, but it's more convenient if she's like in that place or something. I thought like, Jesus Christ, Victor, like, I get it, you're not normal anymore, but
no, but also like he's literally in shock. Like, this has like, that's of course, like, no one's gonna be extremely normal when they just died and came back to life. Like,
wait, let me see if I can find it. She just died, okay.
She just died. Nice.
Angie Knight was dead, yes. It was, Victor didn't revive Angie. He didn't try. He knew he should or should want to, but the last thing he needed was more evidence of himself at the crime scene. I was like, baby boy, I get it, but still...
Yeah, it's like damn. But the funniest part is he gets caught, like, immediately after anyway. So it's like, girl, this didn't really help
the way he just walks home on the sidewalk.
Yeah, and then gets picked up. It's like, okay.
He doesn't even try.
Congrats, Victor. It didn't work.
Yeah.
I mean, because Eli ratted you out immediately, but, you know.
Which makes it even funnier, because, like, Victor hears
because Victor is like,
the dialing,
I can
right?
tell you're calling the cops right now. I'm prepared. Gets picked up by the cops immediately. Because he's just come out of a near-death experience and, like, his body is shit. He's probably stumbling. He's probably super suspicious looking anyway. Like, he's...
Yeah, but he doesn't even try. He walks on, like, the main road. Like,
that too.
He's not even like, okay, you know what, let me hide out in the, like, behind the physics building.
No, he's just...
he's thinking, in that moment,
like, he just fried his brain. He's not thinking. That man is not thinking.
Stupid.
Yeah, it's
incredibly stupid. There no thoughts were thought.
It was like a real comedy bit where he's like, "Wow, man, I feel great." Turns pain back on. Oh, it's just like it's like when like you see an animal like tasting a lemon and like the immediate reaction.
Yeah,
it's so fucking funny. And
no. Do you have like because like character-wise, I'm done with my bullet points. Do you have like anything that you want to add?
I mean, I do. I mean, we already talked about some of these, but I'm checking. I think it's interesting that Eli is also like, he's obviously a product of his upbringing because he also has like this weird paternalistic streak that runs through everything. Like he has this like control issues where he's like, no, I need people to do exactly what I want them to, or I'm just gonna, resort to violence. He gets immediately annoyed with anyone who questions him even a little. He has like a 3-sentence exchange with Sydney, and immediately he's like, stop asking questions. Like Stell looks like he's not quite on board with it, and Eli's just do what I say, man. It's not that hard. And it's like, Eli, what you want him to do is crazy. That's why he's not on board.
He doesn't have any patience, yeah.
Yeah, and when he's like trying to stop Victor from like his like suicide attempt when he collects the coke at the parties and stuff, he's like, oh, I'm just trying to protect you, with the whole like, just do as I say.
Yeah.
It's really funny. Like,
yeah.
It's so obviously, yeah, that's what you get from coming from like a religious and abusive home. Like, of course this is what you get, but it's really funny. And it becomes even funnier because he's forced to look like a teenager for the rest of his life. Like he mentioned, he keeps getting carded for drinks and stuff. It's just very funny.
The pretty boy.
Yeah, no, he really is like, oh, he's the all-American boy with his brown hair and blue eyes, and he's so pretty, and his perfect smile. And it's like, and he's also
smile.
Incredibly deranged. Congratulations. But yeah, no, I think we're through with Eli. But for Victor, I do have some other things. I do think there was like fun like parallels with him, because on the one hand he does like his blackout poetry, his like quirky girl interest, his quirks at white girl, but also he describes it as like, but it's also like destroying something old to create something new that has like traces of the old in them. Like already his hobby is like thematically EO adjacent. He's like, oh, we're gonna start anew, we're gonna use this foundation and build something fun out of it. And also, it's not just his name, he has like the hilarious Frankenstein parallels where he is both Frankenstein and Frankenstein's monster, because he takes the role of Frankenstein in Eli's rebirth, where he's like, he's the one doing the experiment, he revives him, and then his monster comes to kill him. Unfortunately, science gone wrong. But he's also Frankenstein's monster in that he gets put into like a fun electrical apparatus and like, brought back to life via electricity, and then also, unfortunately, kills his maker in the...
happens.
Whoopsie.
A little whoopsie doopsie.
Not ideal. But yeah, especially aesthetically there, it's like extremely like reminiscent of how Frankenstein's monster is like portrayed in like films and stuff. Where it's like, with the electricity and all that.
Yeah, and like strapped down to a table and stuff.
Right, all that, and obviously also his name. It's just very, it's very funny.
Victor's name is the most superhero name ever, because we've got like the all of the names that like start with the same letter, and Victor Vale, and
it has the right syllable amounts. It's great.
Victor Vale, Peter Parker, like that kind of snazzy sound to it. I guess I bet V.E.Schwab was giggling
No, I mean,
came up
it
with the
is
name.
obviously on purpose.
It's like a fly, you know, with like the
they have the whole bit where Eli is like, "Oh, your name is already perfect for this. I have to come up with my own name."
Yeah.
And it's also like, yeah, I bet you felt like a chump having the name Elliot Cardale instead of being Eli Ever. Like, it's just like, yeah, that one is distinctly less cool. Very true, man. Very true. But yeah, no, and obviously, like, I love, one of my favorite tropes is horrible men becoming better through becoming fathers. And it's like, this is like exactly what happens to him. This is why he's my little boy. I love him. I want to squish him. No, he's so good. I love him. I also just love the character bit that his fingertips are stained black from all his Sharpie art. It's so cute. It's like, aww. You do so much defacing of books. Your fingers black.
I love the little moment of, you know, like, where he, like, mentally kind of slaps himself on the hands when he hands back, like, when he, like, tries
where
to
he
get the book from the
hides his
library.
hands in his pockets when he's at the library.
Is like, okay, he's like, just a paragraph before, he's like so into the vandalizing, destroying this book.
Yeah,
he's
and
like,
then he's like,
his own little rebel fit.
Like,
I'm such a rebel, and then he's like, you know, sleeves like,
yeah.
the book.
He's like, well, I would never buy my parents' books to vandalize them. I gotta get them from the library.
Which is so funny because
so cute.
He must get like quite the allowance from his parents. It would even be more of an act of defiance to kind of use the allowance money, right?
It's just he's so cute. I love him. Very squishable. I'm rotating him in my mental microwave. I was like,
it's like a little microwave edit of Victor.
He's my little guy. Yeah. No, I love him. I love him so much. But yeah, I think that's also
everything you got.
We've talked about everything else.
Yeah. I have to say, a couple of times in the book, I was like, fellas, is it gay? Whenever Victor does anything. Because I was like...
Yeah, he does have the energy, like...
With Eli, that energy isn't really there, because he's too... he's too compact, he's too internalized.
He's too repressed. He's like, gay people don't even exist. He's like,
yeah.
I'm obviously straight.
But with Victor, a lot of times I'm like, okay, fellas, is it gay? To like,
yeah, it's just like, okay, you're queening out, my boy. Like, it's I'm like, are you gonna do the limp wrist for like effect, Victor? Are we doing it? Like, is this what we're doing?
It's like I get that you're constantly thinking of Eli, but my man, stop.
It's also like this, like the part where they like try to kill each other right at the end. It's just, it reminds me just of that of, you know, that meme where somebody shared messages where it was like, I hate you, I want to kill you, and I was like, oh, is this like, do you think this is like sex? And it's like, nah, for real, it's better. Like, is this foreplay? Yeah, no, it's like, wow, there's a lot of penetration going on, but let's not think about that.
Yeah.
It really is just like, damn.
It's similar, like, I guess I'm too deranged by reading far too much fanfic and stuff, but the first fight that they have in the dorms with the knife and the yoinking and the back again with the knife, I was like, fellas. Is it?
I did think it was very funny that Eli set up the torture room with fucking kitchen knives again. And Victor being like, wow, it's very nostalgic. But also, I love the moment where where Dominic remember. Like picks up, like saves Sydney, and Eli in this tantrum like fires at the floor like 5 times until his gun is empty, and Victor's just standing there behind him, being like, "Wow, you're crazy, man." It's really funny.
It's like, oh, my wife is delusional. Oh, Jesus Christ!
It's like, damn, that bitch is crazy. I can't not fuck him. Nah, I mean, this is, like, obviously they're, like, post-divorce. They're in, like, this is the divorce. But
it's the divorce
it's
era,
incredible.
and the original relationship was not healthy.
Yeah, like, Victor got a kid in the divorce that neither of them had, but somehow he still acquired it.
Like, this is not the Professor X Magneto thing where you're constantly like, honestly, guys, just like in the
You
comics,
could make up.
in the comics, ridiculous how married they are.
Yeah.
The older versions.
Yeah, no,
but
Eli and, like, Victor are the most divorced couple in history. Like, the amount of divorce cannot be overstated. It's so much. It's crazy. Truly incredible.
I really loved the end confrontation. The fight, because also just the visuals of it, like the fact that like they're stumbling in the blood that like mostly Eli has put on the floor by himself.
Got his bodily fluids all over the floor. Unbelievable.
Stop! Isn't it? Yeah, but I like the end fight.
The end fight is great. I also love that very at the beginning of the end fight, Eli is like, everyone out there is on my side. No one's coming to save you. And Victor's like, yeah, that's the plan. He was like, I have a new plan. You're going to kill me and you're going to go for jail for it. Nice. And then Sydney's going to resurrect me. Like,
yeah.
He's incredible. It's so... he's such a fun guy.
Yeah. There's also the double thing, of course, with, well, you think everybody outside is rooting for you and, like, on your side.
But
guess
like,
what?
But guess what? I just killed Serena, so hopefully they won't be anymore.
Yeah, he didn't know, but he was, like, banking on it. He was like, please.
Yeah, he was hoping that would be how it works.
Yeah.
And, like, it's a, informed guess. It's not...
Yeah.
It's not, like, totally off base. But yeah, no, their fight is very funny. It's like watching, a cat, like, really go to town on, like, a cat toy. That's what it feels like. Where Victor is, like, having the best time trying to kill Eli. He's like, I've been waiting for this. So I'm like...
Eli just wants to go home. He's like,
Eli's just like, no, this is a somber task I have to fulfill. And Victor's like, nah, man, I should have taken, like, some drugs to make this even more fun, but honestly, I'm having the best time right now.
Eli just wants to clock out for the day, Yeah,
I mean,
he says before, he's like, okay, as soon as this Victor business is done, I'm gonna ditch Serena, I'm gonna try to run away and just go back to my little serial killer life.
He's gonna go back to bachelorhood, he's gonna be, like, alone, and he's gonna do it alone. And I was like,
lone wolf, Sigma energy,
He's on that Sigma grind set.
But that was also one of, like, the most funniest parts about the end fight, because Victor is having a great time and Eli is not, and I mean that's the idea of it essentially. Yeah, no, that's why Victor is like, having.
Eli is, like, in the worst pain imaginable, and Victor's just like, isn't this, like, a great time? And he's like, can you just die, man? Can we just, like, finish this? And Victor's like, nah, man, I'm having too much fun. I was in jail for 10 years, man. I gotta let loose. I'm gonna have some fun.
Like that really annoying boss fight, and Eli is just like, with his cheat code of...
He's, like, chipping away at the health bar, and he's just like, man, can you just die?
Can you please just leave?
It's great. Yeah, no.
I also giggled every time they, like, barely missed each other, or one of my favorite
bits, and I wish it had happened even more times, because they live in the same hotel, and there are so many times where one leaves and then the next one comes out, or they just walk past each other, or the part where Victor returns to the hotel and Eli just drove off, and Serena's talking to the concierge, and Victor's just walking. It's so funny, man.
Eli sees Mitch. Eli's like, oh, that Mitch guy. Okay, whatever.
What a suspicious-looking guy for a hotel like this, but
I
not
love
my
that
problem
Eli
right now.
thinks that as well.
Yeah, it's great. It's so good.
And I also, honestly, I love that Victor is like, he sees a blonde woman with extremely light blonde hair.
Yeah.
You know, and he knows that Serena and Sydney look the same because Sydney told him. And he knows that they're in the city and something, but he's like, blonde woman.
Yeah, blonde woman with police. Probably nothing, man. Probably not a big deal.
Past.
Who cares? It's great.
No,
He's
love
also
those
just
moments.
such a drama queen. Like the drama of uploading the photo of the book to the police
yeah.
database and being like, it happens at midnight. It's like, man, you're so dramatic. No wonder everyone thinks you're gay. Like,
I mean, him, you know, being there in isolation for the 4 years, he had enough time to kind of like think of how he wants to get stuff done. And it's not like the Lachlan Victor wasn't also a dramatic bitch, like in the way that he acted and did stuff. So it's the glamour never left, you know.
Yeah, he's just a fancy bitch.
Yeah, both of them are theater kids.
I mean, he's wearing a long coat, like drama queen.
A cute trench coat.
Incredible.
The trench coat curse.
I also love. I just remember that like Mitch, Victor, and Sydney have matching phones. It's so cute. It's such a cute bit. And like I know it's just convenient to buy like the same phone several times or whatever. But it's also just kind of cute. It's like
just the thought of like Victor picking up 3 phones and going, here. Yeah. We all have the same ones. It's just
it's just so cute.
It really is.
I also love that like he's immediately on board with keeping the dog, and he names the dog. Like Sydney's like, oh, can we keep it? And he's like, undead dog, sign me up, and I'm picking a name. I'm like, doing great at fatherhood. Like, it's so cute.
I think in part he was still too fascinated about the fact that Sydney could like revive the dog.
Someone.
But at the same time, he's like, well, I can't leave the dog.
Yeah, but it's also like, you know, the dog gets like the pizza crusts from Sydney, and then the dog comes to him and he's like, yeah, sure, have mine too. It's like the power of a cute dog, man.
Of a gigantic cute dog.
It's so cute. Giant black dog. Aww,
it's like what does it say? It still goes to like the head is at hip height, even for Victor.
Like for Sydney, like it can look her in the eye. Like that's it's so cute. I love it. It's so fucking
just
cute.
Visually the aesthetic of this extremely pale, sickly, dead-looking child with a gigantic black dog.
Yeah, it's
chef's kiss.
It's just also like in my mind for a second, I was like, you know what? The dog is like to Sydney what Mitch is to Victor. You know?
In a way, yeah.
I was like, you know what?
I mean, now that you say it.
Now that I'm saying it, I was like, well, you know, you're cooking.
There is a... I mean, Victor does say, oh, he's picking up strays, you know?
Yeah, it's just like, aww.
It's really cute. They're just such a neat little, if we include Doll, like a little quadruple family.
It's just a cute found family. Like,
yeah.
Don't worry about the circumstances.
Literally.
Like, literally, yeah, no, it's like, it's just so cute. I love that.
It's
so heartwarming. And they're all on board with murder. I love that for them.
I love the way Sydney just goes along with it. But yeah, their dynamic is everything in the book. Like the four. I keep mentioning Doll as if Doll is an actual like character. The three of them is doing a lot for making the more mundane, like, oh, this needs to happen for the plot kind of points enjoyable.
Yeah, and also like their domestic interactions. It's just like so cute.
Like them sitting in the kitchen and Mitch explaining the search algorithm and like this is this and this is that, right? And you have these small parts of, oh, Victor handing out, the chocolate milk, or like
and
trying
you have several moments where you have the synergy between Victor and Mitch, where it's like, yeah, they've lived together in a cell for years. They know each other really well. It's just like, yeah, no.
Absolutely beautiful. Honestly, Victor should have just ridden off into the sunset with Mitch and Sydney. And like,
I mean,
I
that's
assume
what
that's
I
what
imagine he does after the book ends.
I assume that's what he does. He's like, all right, perfect.
Since I don't believe in the sequels, so I don't need to think about that. Because I'm like, yeah, I mean, the point is that he's supposed to be free from that now, and can now, like, right? He laid all of that to rest, literally. He died, and now he's starting a new life where he can do other stuff. Like, that's like the thematic implication of the ending to me, but, like, everyone loves making money off of a needless sequel, so that's what we're doing.
Wouldn't it be so funny if he afterwards also started to write self-help books? Because he's like the veil, like, but like ironically, but people buy it because
I want to believe he like self-publishes them, like,
yeah,
because like obviously he's still a wanted criminal. He broke out of jail.
Yeah, but I mean, Amazon can't catch him,
Yeah, but like also like a publisher isn't gonna offer him
no,
a
of
deal.
Course not. But the Veil name is on it, right?
It would be so fucking funny.
How grating must it be for its parents, right? That there's like now Veil self-help books.
I just want to imagine like a modern, like, years down the line, Sydney has a TikTok with her cute dog that she shows off, and sometimes in the background there are Mitch and Victor, and everyone's just like, wait, isn't that the fucking felon who broke out of jail? Oh, wait, what? Are those not criminals? And Sydney's like, I don't know what you're talking about. They have everybody faces, they're just like...
With Mitch, people know that he broke out, but didn't they keep it down on purpose with Victor? Because of the way he broke out?
I mean, they didn't immediately send the information out, but he still wants it. Like, he's not...
That's true. But the question is, would a random teenager that comes across a TikTok...
I mean, obviously, like, their pictures aren't anywhere because Mitch is keeping them. Like, deleting them whenever they crop up. But it's still, like, the idea is really funny where people are like, are those your parents? Why are they like this?
It's probably more like, oh, your fathers are beekeeping age, wanna show them? And Sydney's like,
kind of a dilf.
No.
And she's like, you're crazy.
Not on my channel, not on my Wi-Fi that my parents, my dad's paid for. Like, no.
Do not say this about my dad.
Yeah.
No, it would be really cute. And it's also, like, cute because she does look like she's his daughter, because they both have the washed-out blonde guy look. It's so cute.
Was it daughter or younger sister, depending on, like, how you want to play... The ages looks
wise. I mean, probably more like daughter, let's be honest.
If we got it early, yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like being in prison probably ages you, like, visually, at least a little bit. Like, come on, like, he's not gonna have, like, a killer skincare routine in prison, in high security, Like, it's just not gonna happen. It's
giving Killer a brand new name, honestly. No matter his skincare, it will be Killer.
That's true. Any makeup can be killer if you've killed a man. Life hack.
It's like like you cannot be charged by fraudulent advertising if one of your marketing team.
But that also just reminds me that, like, even though from the internal monologue, like, Victor is like, no, I'm like a fucked up weirdo, he's like, he's not jumping on killing people, right? When he kills Angie on accident, and then when he escapes from jail to, like, stab Eli, he's also like, oh, I didn't kill anyone, luckily. And, like, I accidentally killed that guy in jail. It wasn't on purpose. I was experiencing, like, obviously I don't feel bad about it, but also I wasn't trying to. And then you have Eli, who goes, like, on a killing spree immediately. He's like, nah, my professor has to die. that janitor saw me. I gotta run him over, like, post-haste. He just keeps killing everyone. He's like, nah, murder is the correct option. He tried to kill Victor immediately. He was like, nah, I gotta kill him, man. He's a demon.
To be fair with the professor, I felt like a slippery slope. Like, the professor was like, they struggle, he doesn't really care about what might happen, pushes him down the stairs, isn't really
and then
bothered.
Breaks his neck and doesn't call for help.
Checks, and he's like, and with the janitor, it's like one step further.
With the professor, he checks, his professor is still alive. Eli is like, no, the secret has to die with us, and kills him. And then he's like, the janitor saw me, I gotta kill him.
When I'm trying, he already falls down the stairs, he already near is dead, he gives his little, like, hey mama, let me whisper in your ear. He, like, says something, kills him. And then with the janitor, it's even like, oh, maybe I stalked him. Maybe I knew exactly which times.
Especially because of that, I don't think that with the professor it really was just like an accident. I think like...
Oh no, it was an accident that turned into like a very obvious choice.
If the accident hadn't happened, he would have also just killed him. Like, because he was like, no, this man will tell my secret to everyone. Like, he was immediately like, no, this can't happen. It's gotta, like, that he fell down was, like, a good excuse, and then with the janitor, he didn't really have any excuses and tried to give himself some anyway.
Well, how does he word it? He worded it in such a weird way. He was like,
I didn't mean to run him over. I mean, I might have looked up his schedule. I might have, found the right time and waited, but like God could have interceded for him at any point. He wanted me to kill that guy. It was right and just, and it's like, Eli, you're just crazy.
Yeah,
God's not real, man. You're just crazy.
He was very unhinged about it.
Can you find it?
I don't think I can.
Now, the flashbacks are so interspersed, it's really, really difficult. Yeah. Even if you're like, I know it happens after this, but, like, who knows how many other chapters are in between that and the next thing.
I remember that it was, like, at the beginning...
Yeah, it was at the beginning of a chapter, but...
I had found it. He's thinking about it while eating broccoli.
It's so funny. Yeah, the way the scene starts is so fucking funny.
It's like, he hadn't meant to do it. This is to say, he hadn't set out in his car with the intent to kill the janitor. But he had unearthed the rotation schedule, and he had gotten in his car at the same time. Sykes clocked out, and he had seen him crossing the road, and he had sped up, but he had not intended to kill him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, listen, I didn't mean to eat that cookie. I just baked it and then, walked past it in the kitchen and I picked it up and held it up to my mouth. But eating was never my intention, really.
It's worse. It's like, I did spend, like, at least an hour trying to, like, find the perfect recipe. Yeah. And I did go out and buy
all the ingredients. Yeah.
All the
really
ingredients.
Like,
at 8 p.m. in the evening on a Saturday night.
It's like... Eli, you're a lying liar who lies. Stop it. We know. You can't trick us. We know. It's really funny. He's just like, you know what? I should just start killing more people. and he's like, no, this is a just quest. But then he's like, no, I killed Mitch, but like he wasn't an EO or anything. But I feel like he deserved it because I didn't like him.
At that point,
Dude.
It's like we see Eli rage out a couple of times, but I feel like that is when he is at his most, because he's so fucked up about the whole what happens at midnight thing, and the overall, like, just annoyed by the fact that Mitch is sitting there. So as soon as Mitch gets up and, like, Dominic is gone, Eli is just fucking...
he's got to take it out on someone. And, since he has no immediate family to do that with, he has to kill a stranger.
Yeah, but the stranger obviously deserved it.
Yeah, no, I mean, the same way that if he had a son and beat him, like, obviously that would be deserved too.
Ooh, clocking him right there.
Yeah, I mean, that's like, yeah, obviously. Like, that's...
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this is exactly the kind of guy he is. And he's like, no, I'm doing this for your own good. And it's like, dude, you're doing this for personal satisfaction. Don't lie to me. Like, we both know this. But yeah, no, it's like, yeah. But yeah, I think it's also part of the, like, you know, theme that he's just, like, frozen in time. Because he'll always be, like, a tantrum-throwing teenager. Yeah. And not, like, he can't mature because he's just, like, he'll always be like this.
Yeah. He's, like, annoyed if people take his toys and stuff.
Yeah, he's just like, no, it has to go my way. Me!
Yeah. It's like, I want to be the special one. I want to have the powers. I'm the only special power boy.
Yeah, I'm the special one. Evil. Like, Victor immediately clocked it after the successful attempt, and Eli was like, oh, we can try sometime later, and Victor immediately was like, oh, we're never trying again. Nah. I'm trying again. Fuck you.
I just love that. Like,
yeah, no, it's
like that arms race that they have in that regard, because they're both so unhinged. Also just the fact that how they plan the deaths is hilarious to me. At least Eli's death.
Yeah.
Right? With the ice bath and everything, and because it's like the first death of Victor is, again, like, they could talk it off. He has to go to the psych evaluation at the hospital because it's so believable. But how on earth were they gonna explain an ice bath?
I mean, like, they would be like, yeah, he tried to kill himself. He's crazy. Don't ask questions. Like.
But the EpiPens and everything.
I mean, Victor would have removed those by the time.
I just wonder how much. Oh no, it's just adrenaline.
It's just very funny. It's just like, wow, it's extra.
It's so dumb, it's so fucking dumb.
Yeah, no, it's great, man.
Both Eli and, like, Sydney and Serena die in, like, an ice situation.
Yeah. Which, I mean, is not that surprising because it's one of the easiest ways to revive someone again.
Yeah.
Because, like, in the frozen state, there isn't as much decay going on as with other people who have died and then get resuscitated. So there's actually more time to get it right and get them, you know, revived.
It's also easier to explain story-wise. Like,
it's more like
a stepped on a mine.
Yeah.
That dude, like, he's in a lot of pain, obviously. So,
yeah, there it's just like, yeah, you can recover from this pretty well. Yeah.
A lot easier than the other ones. But yeah, I think there's not really a lot of stuff I disliked. I mean, next to Serena, who's, like, the biggest thorn in my
but
thumb.
She is part of the villains. Like, you are supposed to not like her.
Like,
obviously.
Exactly. Like, we're supposed to not like her.
She's doing a great job of being hateable, for sure. Like, I definitely don't like her, man.
I think the only time the pacing is extremely well done. I think the only time I was like, I feel like this is dragging, like, a little bit, and this is like nitpicking level of drag, is when Eli and Serena visit the I Can See Ghosts man. Because it feels like the whole interaction, it's explained it's explained to you as the reader. Like, Serena mulls it over and she's like, oh, I had hoped if I can, like, see Eli kill the guy, it, like, overwrites my bad memories about the last time we went to an execution, kind of thing. But I feel like
I think a lot of her reflection feels like it's dragging because it's the same information over and over, and like, it doesn't make her, because the part where they're actually killing him is actually really interesting, because there's another part where you can see that, like, Serena hates not being in control. Actually, she can't stand when people actually successfully fight her. So she's like, no, I want it my way. And Eli's like, no, I want it my way. This is my sacred murder ritual. Fuck you.
Yeah, yeah.
It's fun. It's like, ooh, the girls are fighting.
But I feel like that could have been, like, the same thing could have been achieved without the going there and doing
Yeah.
this. It felt a little bit like a completionist kind of thing. Okay, these are the people we have introduced as the possible EOs. One of them has already been killed by Eli. The other
and now
one
he's on his
we
way
will
to the other one. Yeah.
yeah, we will meet later, and this third one is the one that Eli goes after. But that would be the only complaint, I think. Yeah. No, like it's a really
it's a really good
book.
book. I mean, I don't really have any complaints of it as it is. Like it's just really, really well done. Like,
Yeah.
it's really
fun.
good.
So what was the
my pet peeve with
Yeah.
both like this and the superhero genre at large is the bastardization of science to make like
again?
to try
Yeah.
to explain superheroes. It's just, I hate it. I'm just like, leave science alone, man. Like, or at least come up with like a crazy new substance that doesn't exist. But like, this is not
Yeah.
how adrenaline works. This is not how trauma, like, this is not what near-death experiences do. This is not like, don't do this, man. It's stupid.
yeah.
Like, don't over-explain it. Like, don't try to explain to me how Victor's researching adrenaline and like fear and like response, and like, don't do that, man. Just leave it out. Just don't do it. Like, you're just looking stupider because like now I'm like, oh, you did research this and you know it's garbage what you say. Like, you know it's not right. Why are you doing this? Leave the science alone. Like, invent a creepy spider who gives somebody superpowers. It's fine. That's better than whatever this is.
I mean, yeah, that's like kind of the...
Like, I know
like
it's part
an
of this genre, and like it's part
Yeah.
of what this book is, and like that's why it's not a complaint. It's like that's just something you have to put up with when you're doing this. But this is also why some of the Lachlan chapters I'm just like, ugh, I don't care. And also the ones that are like centered around Angie, I was just like, I don't care. Like, she's just there to be fridge. Like, don't try to make me care about her. It doesn't work.
The ones about like Angie, where the first time I read the book, I was gobsmacked. I was like, what? And the second time I read the book, I was like, oh, Victor, I forgot what a fucking piece of shit you are. Is when he just like, because the first I thought, oh, had I misread anything?
Oh,
when he
about
starts
the pill, where he's like, no,
about
I
the
already
pill,
took the pill. You gotta kill
about
me.
you know him going
And then
full
he's
drama
like, oh,
and being like,
and she's like, oh no.
I'm gonna die.
It's really funny. I love manipulate, mansplain, man whore. Go.
Like the first time I read this, I was like, I had the book.
Oh, did I miss the pill? Oh fuck.
I remember this like very vividly, sitting in the plane, hunched over, and I was like, no. You know? Like, the guy next to me was like looking at me for a second before I was like going back into the book, and now the second time I was like, oh, I forgot what a little piece of shit you are, Victor.
I was like, Victor, you little asshole.
Oh,
you sneaky boy. It's great.
Peak writing, honestly, because it ties in together with the characterization we get beforehand of like Eli just like they're not getting reprimanded because Eli just has to smile and Victor just has to lie.
Yeah,
right?
it's so good. It's like
it's the same situation later on. You know, Eli just has to smile and Victor lies.
And
you know.
I mean, Victor is just such a funny little liar because he also lies about things that are like obviously untrue. Like at the beginning with Sydney, where she's like, and they let you out of prison, and Victor's just looking at her, and then he's like, of course they did. And it's like, you both know you're lying, Victor.
Yeah.
But I love that he's like, oh yeah, definitely. They let me out. Like, I'm out, aren't I? Like, it's fine.
His humor is definitely unmatched, and it's kind of sad in a way because Eli beforehand also has some humor, and that like gets completely
he's just, that's gone
out of the window. You know?
No, I love the part where Eli's like, I'm going to put my life in God's hand, and Victor's just like, well, let's hope he gives it back.
Well, later on he gets
and later he's like, God didn't save you, I did, because Victor's like, I want my achievements recognized. You are not gonna religious freak your way out of it, like, admitting that I was important.
Yeah, it's like, in the beginning he's like, haha, joke, but later he's like,
What
no.
a good joke. And then it's like, Eli, no, you can't mean this. This was my work. This was me.
But I also love the quirkiness of them having music running during Eli's suicide attempt. They're like, well, at least let's wait with a little bit of
gotta have the
rock.
vibes. Yeah.
With the laptop on the toilet.
I also love that Eli's sitting there drinking while that Victor's sitting there drinking while Eli's like dead in the tub, and he's just like, well, gotta have another drink before I resuscitate my man.
It's like, he can't blame me that I did it too early, right? Like, let me just have a little sippy sip before. Yeah. And then
let me chillax a moment.
And then him struggling to get this guy out.
That was also like comedy gold, because it is hard to pull someone out of a tub.
Of course,
but
like a complete dead weight.
It's so funny because like you imagine like the cool montage in a movie, but it's like, nah, this guy's struggling, man. He's a STEM major. You think he's like buff? Nah, he's a little
they
stick
do
boy.
say that Eli looks like a sports dude, or like the perfect, you know, specimen you would assort into, like, they're here because they have like a sports like sponsorship for uni. Yeah. So try to imagine that kind of dead weight, right? Yeah. And also the ice is like solid, right? Or like it's a mass.
Yeah, he's like, and Victor has like the vibes of, you know, a sickly Victorian who's sent to the seaside to recover. So it's just very funny.
And he's a little drunk, you know?
Yeah, he's a little tipsy, and, you know, it's just so funny. Like,
it's like, I didn't consider trying to get him out of the bath. Shit.
Yeah, he's like, fuck, we forgot.
That visual, the silliness. It's the silliness about about the first two death attempts.
It's the bit of after the first like attempt where the nurse is like, you know, we all make mistakes, and Victor's like, oh, I want to throw up, I hate self-help bullshit. They're gonna send me to therapy. Oh no, the therapist at Lockland likes my parents' work.
but the fact that he gets out of what it was like 12 hours or something
by getting her autograph is so fucking funny.
The promise of an autograph. That woman never got the autograph.
Nah, because he got arrested for killing people.
like a day later.
And she was like, maybe we should have kept him under observation. Oh well.
Imagine her sitting there like reading the headline going,
He definitely needed therapy. Damn.
Assessment was correct.
Yeah. It's so fun. There's so many bits that are just like comedy in like if you just look at them. It's so good. It's incredible.
It adds to the charm of the book.
Yeah,
because I feel like this could easily go down like a very like no front on like thriller books, because a lot of them are like very, very good, but this could have easily gone down the kind of emotionally detached way that thrillers, or a lot of thrillers, operate on. But because of these little
it has little things, and it's also like sometimes it has visceral descriptions of violence, but it doesn't have a fetish for it. Like, it's not obsessed with talking about wounds and pain, and like it's like it gets as much description as everything else that's relevant to the plot, but it's not, you know. It's like you could totally turn this into like a dark, like meandering, like thriller where like nothing good ever happens and everything's great and depressing, and it's like nah, this like there's funny jokes.
Like Victor like loves, like he feels pleasure from getting the 3 shots into Eli at the end of the like during the end fight, but it's not described, as you said, in a the bullet ripped through him, and
it doesn't have like this voyeuristic obsession with the violence.
Yeah,
like,
that's a good way.
It describes all the violence that's like important and like relevant, but it's not, you know, crazy about it.
No. So that's There's a certain charm to it.
No, it's good. It's so good, which is why it's one of my favorite books. It's just so good.
Good choice. Good choice.
And why Victor is my baby girl. I love him.
You know, remember when we had this discussion like way back on me missing my wife, Peter Mellark, and just like the blonde men in general, and then when I read Vicious, it was like, well, he's an ice blonde.
Yeah, like he is a blonde boy, but not the kind that like he's the wrong flavor.
Yeah, he's too like
I don't
blonde.
like my blonde boys as like femme fatales. I like my blonde boys as like a nice.
It's like, yeah. But he does fall into the blonde category for me in a way that he's just...
Victor is like a creature to me. It's like you know when you have a cat who loves biting people, this is the energy. And obviously also because he's a dad. Like he becomes it's so cute.
Yes,
I love
the
horrible men who become fathers. And again, as I said, like if we could have had a Victoria Vale, I would be all over that. That would be like incredibly hot. Like I would stand. I already stand, but I would be standing even more.
Yeah.
I can't.
Because let's be honest, the begrudging parent trope, a lot of times that's men.
Typically it's
with
men.
Also,
and I understand why
girls.
often, because when they play it with women, they just play it as, oh, this, you know, inherent maternal drive in women
motherhood
to take care
thing.
of kids. Where it's like, no, I'm totally for women who are like, I'm not good with kids. Like, I'm not maternal at all, but I guess I have a kid now. Like, that's a totally different flavor than you usually get with women. Because, you know, but that's also like, it's the same as like, you don't really get these kind of, like, even if you get, like, scheming, amoral protagonists as women, you don't get this flavor. You don't get the Victor Vale flavor. You don't get, like, the same way you don't really get the, like, criminal mastermind, like Kaz Brecker as women. Like, it's so rare to get these. And, of course, like, there is more of them now. I have a bunch of books on my TBR that are like, oh, this sounds like it has this, but with women. Yeah. Where I'm like, I'm excited to read them because it's just like, it's really not that common. And I love those character archetypes, but we just don't get that many women. Somebody needs to get Victor some estrogen, is what I'm saying, I think. That's what I'm talking about here.
I hate to be that person because you're sick of me by saying this, but there is the joke that Victor in Arcane got the estrogen shot in season 2 because he like gets beautiful and gets long hair. So
I mean, I heard that it is good for your skin. So yeah, like that there are hilarious. I have heard that a number of like e-boys and stuff take it just to have like nicer skin. Where I'm just like, girl, that is the funniest reason to take estrogen.
No, it's definitely. I really enjoyed Vicious.
Me too. It's so good.
Such a little fun time.
I love reading good books with you, and I love having like stuff to discuss about it because like Vicious has so much to talk about. I could talk about Victor Vale forever.
Well, is there anything else you want to get out? Because I think my notes are depleted.
I think so too. I thought like it was interesting that the book at least like scratches on the surface of like superpowers as like both gift and a disability, that it's just like a part of people. But it doesn't really do much with it because obviously all our protagonists are people who benefit immensely from their superpower. Yeah. The only ones we see who suffer with them are people who get killed. So unfortunately on that front.
I feel like that's something that's touched on much more in X-Men than here.
For sure. But although X-Men also like sometimes does it in a very funny way, where it's character who can control the weather. It's a gift. It's not it's not a bad thing. Versus character who kills people she touches. Don't know about that, Chief. Character who looks like a blue bear. Monster Man. It's like, well, maybe there are nuances here. But yeah, I also thought there was like an interesting bit on, like, you know, how people deal with trauma, where it's like, on Eli and Serena's side, it's like, go and make it somebody else's problem, and on Victor and Sydney's side, it's like, you know, you work through it, and, you know, it changes you, but you learn to live with that, and, like, you know, integrate it into the view of yourself, and it's not this, you know...
There's a certain self-agency.
Yeah, like again, there's, like, the fact that, like, both Eli and Serena are chronically incapable of reflecting on themselves in, like, an effective way is, like, a huge part of why they suck so bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I also thought that it was interesting. I didn't notice this, I think, on my first or second read-through, because I wasn't paying attention to it. But Eli and Serena only get point of view chapters after we start on the second part. We get introduced to all characters, like, just through the eyes of Victor and Sydney, so they're already built up as, like, the bad guys, as the villains, before we ever get to hear from their side at all. Which I think is an interesting choice, because you totally could have had, like, Eli chapters at the beginning, too. But, like, you didn't.
Like, it's not that I didn't notice that. I was more surprised that we actually got an Eli chapter then. Because it was running off the assumption that everything was gonna be Victor POV
I
or
remembered
Sidney POV.
that, like, I was like, no, we totally get Eli and Serena chapter, and then I was like, wait, they're only this late? Like, we're halfway through the book already, and that's only when we start. And, like, the second half has, like, mostly them, but still has, like, the others as well. And the second part is also where we finally get the Mitch chapters, which are amazing, and some of my favorites,
Again,
because he's so good.
One of my favorite chapters, the Mitch origin story chapter.
He is such a delight. I love him. But I think it was interesting where we have, like, the origin story of, like, Victor and Sydney, and then we get to meet, like, their antagonists, like, respectively.
Yeah.
Which I thought was fun. But yeah, I guess, like, the message of the book is that, like, college-age kids are evil, and, like, either you're too young to be evil, or you have grown out of evilness by the time you become 30 and have been to prison. That's what I assume the book is trying to tell me. That's the message I'm taking away from.
It's like a prison rehabilitation success story.
Yeah, we're like, listen, do you know how much time he spent, like, with his parents' books and reading them? Clearly they worked. A veil success story. Victor took their teaching and used them to escape the prison of his mind. If only Eli had read them. If only.
Eli only read, like, the poet version, so
he only read, like, the Victor-approved versions of it.
Yeah.
I do love the blackout poetry, and I'm so jealous because your cover looks like blackout poetry, like the bones. They look like the blackout poetry.
The interesting part is that there's, like, it's not all blacked out on the cover.
Yeah,
you also have, like, a knife and some bones. In there.
It's like but the vibes are there, and I feel like it's way more thematically appropriate than mine, which is just like the two men posing dramatically.
Yeah. And but yours is very it's very
superhero. Yeah. But I'm cursed with having the book versions that are not as cool because I buy them too early. Shame. For shame.
Yeah. I distinctly remember that I was, like, hunting vicious as the book.
Would you describe your hunt as a vicious activity?
It was more like a surprise. Like, I was in a random city on a random day, and I was like, let me go to the bookstore, and there it was, and I was like...
It was fate.
Yeah. It was, honestly...
This is like Victor going to marriage. He's like, I was just in a random town, and bam, there it was.
There it was. There was the book.
Yeah.
I was very smug when that happened.
Yeah. No, it's so good. I'm glad, like, having reread it again, I'm like, yeah, I can confidently say it definitely is one of my favorites. It's just so good. It's got everything.
Yeah. When I reread it, I had forgotten that it was so good. Because I read it.
Yeah, it's like, maybe I was exaggerating. It probably wasn't that good. And then you read it and you're like, no, actually, it was that good. Damn.
I was sitting on that train and I was, like, rubbing my hands. I was like, ooh, yeah, let's go.
The girls are fighting.
Let's get into this again.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's so good. It's like, you know, we start with the dark academia vibes, and then it quickly morphs into a supervillain origin story. No one's a hero here. Like,
No.
as Mitch said.
And no good men here.
Yeah. No, that reminds me of the moment where Sydney is like, oh, I want to go with you. And Victor's like, no, you can't. Because right now you think I'm a good person. And I don't want you to change your mind. It's like,
Or when
what
he,
a parental thing to say, Victor.
When he puts all of the dead people, like, documents
away
because he's like, Sydney doesn't have to see it, and Sydney goes through it anyways, right? Because she looks for it.
Yeah. I also love his stick figure drawing of them. It's so cute. He's like, I made a friend. It's just...
I wonder whether he drew that or whether he made Sydney draw that.
Both options are very cute, honestly. I love the idea of Victor Vale drawing.
He's like he's like, okay, can you add the wounds are here, there, and there.
Here, look again. I showed you before, but here, these are my gunshot wounds. Please get them very good, Sydney. Well
positioning on top. Like, no, don't draw the dog. Yeah, perfect.
Not the dog, not Mitch, just us. Okay, yeah, we don't need to tell Eli, about more information on how to catch it. It's okay. It's so cute. I love that. It's like...
I also, that was one of the moments where I was like, oh, Serena, you do have some humor in yourself, when she was like, oh, you never told me he was this thin, and Eli's just...
It's so good. But I also love, like, Victor is many times described as, like a thin blade and, like, shiny or whatever. And it's, like, so funny. And it's like, oh, good, that guy definitely has no muscles. No wonder Eli beats him up. Like, he's a bean. He's a beanpole.
He's, like, Mitch describes him as the guy who would... who he would expect to be in prison because of, like, tax fraud or something.
Yeah, it's so good. And then you're like, and then the scene where Victor's like, oh wow, is that a shiv? That's crazy. They didn't have this in solitary. And Mitch is just like, solitary?
Like, what do you mean?
What?
No, humor is unmatched.
Victor, you're not beating the queer allegations, my man.
No, he's not. But yeah, I guess that's it in terms
for now.
of gushing about this book.
It's just incredible. I mean, if you made it this far, we don't have to tell you to go read it, because you would have already read it, because you would have left at our warning if you had any sense.
I was about to say, if you're still here after we told you to read it, but you haven't read it, all the spoilers are
now
on
you have to. Now, like, you definitely have to. Like, you can't get away like that. You can't keep getting away with this. You need to read this book. This book club only works if you, like, listen to our advice. You need to read it first and then come back.
Like, rule number 1 about the little book club.
Like, this is not the vicious experience you should have, where we're just like, haha, look at these funny freaks. Like, it's not...
No, like, 10 out of 10, 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads.
Excellent score. I love it. Best V.E.Schwab book, probably, ever.
It's like S tier on the enjoyment. Because also, like... Maybe one last thing. Also, you don't have to, in my opinion, you don't have to enjoy a certain genre or be a certain, like, book kind of lover vibe. Maybe if you're a person that needs to have romance in a book in order to read it, then maybe you wouldn't like Vicious, because that's not what Vicious is about, right?
That's what Vicious needs, an explicit sex scene. Spice.
But
with Eli and Victor at Lockland, of course, is what I'm referring to.
Again, the book would be so much shorter if we had just,
and like, if they just fucked about it, this could have been solved so easily. Yeah.
Or it would have added another very delicious divorce layer to the...
Honestly, yeah, the divorce could have also gotten way worse. Even more dead people.
Divorce era onion. But yeah, I feel like this is so, like, accessible to a lot of readers.
Yeah, no, it's also very accessible, even though it's an adult book. Because the chapters are very short. And, like, obviously, a lot of people, like, have unfortunately a quite short attention span now, and I also understand looking at a book and being intimidated by like 30 to 40 to 50 page chapters. I also don't love that. Often I feel like, okay, there are like scene breaks in between where I'm like, you could have just made this a chapter. Like you didn't, this could have been a chapter break. But no, this is like, it's extremely accessible. The suspense is so good. Like almost every chapter ends at a part where you're like, you want to know more. And then you get a flashback or somebody else's perspective, and then you're like left there where you're like, oh no, now I want more of this. And then you're back somewhere else because you have so many characters and different like pasts they each reflect on. And it's such a good way to like slowly unpeel like the motivations and pasts and like stuff of these characters, each one by one. It's so good. And it's all interwoven so effectively. It's great.
It's just great.
It's so good.
Okay, I think we have to stop here now.
We've said this so many times now. Yeah, this is a good place to stop.
Yeah.
If you've read it, go reread it right now. Like, enjoy it again. This is an order.
Thank you for joining us on this experience today, and yeah, hopefully you have enjoyed the book experience as much as we did.
Oh, I hope so. Probably not, but because Victor is my special little meow meow, so I have a special enjoyment when I see him.
Okay.
However, I'm sure other people can also enjoy it.
Nobody can love him like I do.
That's so true. I support his rights and his wrongs. He has done nothing wrong in my eyes ever.
Okay. Well then. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.